In the late 1980s and 1990s, Aussie soaps in the UK were a phenomenon, particularly Neighbours, which was far more present in the British public consciousness than in its homeland of Australia. But despite Neighbours being the more dominant show in the UK, yet being axed 3 times, Home and Away remains on air both down under and in Blighty. In this video, we'll explore the history of both shows, why being shown by UK broadcasters was fundamental to their longevity, and we'll discuss why Home and Away has outlived its Melbourne counterpart. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, please like, subscribe and ring the bell. It really helps Brit Things grow. You can also support the creation of more videos like this through channel memberships, if that's something you feel able to do. Firstly, why is a channel called Brit Things a channel about British things talking about 2 Aussie soaps? Well, it's because they've been a massive part of British popular culture, and in the case of one in particular, arguably a much bigger part of British popular culture than it ever was of Australian popular culture. The story of these 2 shows really starts in the 1980s, thanks to a chap called Reg Watson, an Australian TV executive who'd already created some legendary shows such as Prisoner Cell Block H, as it was known in the UK, Sons and Daughters, The Young Doctors, and had experience in the UK working on the legendary Crossroads. With experience of both markets, he set out to create a show that would appeal to both Australian and British audiences. Initially, he took the idea to the 9 network, who turned it down, but in 1985, he finally got the country's biggest network, 7, to give the series a go. The show focused on 3 families living on Ramsay Street in the fictional Melbourne suburb of Erinsborough, which is nearly but not quite an anagram of Neighbours. While the show performed well in Melbourne, it underperformed in the crucial Sydney market. And so for the first, but very much not the last time, the show was axed. The Neighbours' dream was over. Channel 7 even had the sets destroyed. A bit dramatic. Luckily for the real residents of Pin Oak Court, the actual street used for Ramsay Street wasn't destroyed. Otherwise, they probably wouldn't have been best pleased. The 10 network immediately pounced, picked up the rights from the legendary Reg Grundy production company. A lot of Regs in this story. Well, 2, which is more than in most stories. And just over 2 months after it ended on 7, Neighbours returned on 10 with newly built sets, and of course was still able to use Pin Oak Court as the main Ramsay Street setting. Later that year, the BBC got interested and added the show to its daytime schedule. It soon proved hugely popular, at times pulling in audiences in the UK that exceeded the entire population of Australia. And the show was a massive hit in the UK. The entire cast was flown over for the Royal Variety performance in 1988, and the show's stars became regular fixtures on chat shows and even pantomimes in British theatres. In 1987, The Wedding of Scott, played by future I'm a Celebrity Get Me Out of Here winner Jason Donovan, and Charlene, not sure what happened to the actor who played her, attracted around 20 million viewers across its BBC daytime airings, and an impressive 2 million viewers in Australia. This must have all left egg on the face of Network 7, who ditched Neighbours. So in 1988, Alan Bateman, the boss of the network, wiped the egg away, and while visiting Kangaroo Point, a suburb in southern Sydney, which sounds like them calling somewhere in the UK Cup of Tea Cove, came up with an idea. After seeing local opposition to the construction of a foster home in the area, because apparently kids don't deserve a place to live, the concept, originally entitled Refuge, evolved into Home and Away. The show borrowed some creative DNA from Neighbours, including similar family-focused storytelling and casting styles. They even scouted the same families for cast. Danny Minogue, who appeared in the show, was the sister of the person who played Charlene, whose name escapes me. Danny Minogue would later go on to have a successful music career. And just as 7 wanted its own Neighbours, ITV in the UK, having seen the BBC's success, wanted the same. So Home and Away began airing on ITV in 1988. For 7, this time they had a hit set in Sydney rather than Melbourne, which seemed to solve a problem they'd had with Neighbours in the first place. The show ultimately became more popular in Australia than Neighbours ever was. while also doing solid business for ITV. In Britain, both shows aired alongside long-established British soaps, but aside from their more exotic locations and objectively more attractive casts than the UK soaps at the time, there were some key differences. One quirk was their relaxed attitude to actor continuity. Characters would disappear and return played by someone else entirely. In some cases, an actor might be replaced temporarily, only for the original to return weeks later, and viewers were expected to roll with it. British soaps do recast too, don't get me wrong, but usually that's child characters or people who've been off-screen for years, not someone who popped to the shop and came back with a new face.
Why you changed your head? I changed it back. Does it matter?
Oh, of course it matters. You can't go changing your appearance whenever you feel like it.
Musically, both shows leaned heavily into emotive, instrumental scoring. Big moments were underlined with swelling music cues.
She's not asleep.
What, Dad?
Where British soaps often relied on dialogue and silence, Australian soaps were happy to tell you exactly how you were meant to feel. The shows also took regular seasonal breaks, something the UK soap traditionally avoided. Over time, this meant UK broadcasts went from being months behind to more or less being in sync with Australia. By the 1990s, after the initial mayhem, things calmed down slightly, but both shows were firmly embedded in the schedules, with their stars becoming overnight celebrities. Neighbours alumni, like Natalie Imbruglia, went on to successful music careers, and more iconic characters were introduced on both shows. Some actors even jumped across to British soaps in the 2000s. Anne Charleston appeared in Crossroads and later Emmerdale. Emily Simmons also became a regular on Emmerdale. Both eventually returned to their Aussie soaps. In Anne Charleston's case, an impressive feat given her character had been killed off.
You're dead.
In 2000, things changed, at least for one of the soaps. Channel 5, which had launched just 3 years earlier, nabbed Home and Away from ITV. Although Channel 5 reportedly offered less money, it committed to a much longer contract, which sealed the deal. ITV, however, had a clause preventing another broadcaster from airing the show for 12 months. This left UK viewers stuck waiting a year for storylines to resume, the televisual equivalent of being left unread. But by the late 2000s, Neighbours seemed firmly at home on BBC One, where it was the channel's most popular daytime show. But when the rights came up for renewal, it became clear the BBC wouldn't match rival bids. Channel 4 and ITV were rumoured to be interested, but once again Channel 5 swooped in. This made sense. Channel 5 was owned by RTL Group, which also owned Fremantle, the production company behind Neighbours. Reportedly offering around £100,000 per episode didn't hurt either. While the move made sense on paper, there was no way Neighbours was going to retain its BBC audience. That said, by Channel 5 standards, it still pulled in healthy numbers and became part of a twice-daily Australian soap Power Hour. Famous for creating megastars beyond their success in Australia and the UK, Neighbours and Home and Away became global talent factories. Few television shows anywhere have launched as many international careers. Neighbours alone produced an extraordinary alumni list. Actors like Jason Donovan, Guy Pearce.
Hi, I'm Margot, who plays Donna, as you know, and welcome to my world.
Margot Robbie, Liam Hemsworth, Delta Goodrum, Holly Valance.
Bit of a tyrant as a boss.
I think she likes that kind of thing now. And Natalie Imbruglia all passed through Ramsay Street on their way to global fame. In some cases, Neighbours wasn't just a first job, it was a launch pad. Home and Away has an equally impressive record. It helped launch Isla Fisher, Chris Hemsworth, Heath Ledger, Naomi Watts and Simon Baker. For casting agents, these shows became a kind of open audition, a daily showcase of future stars learning their craft at speed. If UK soaps, of course, had the same power, we might have ended up with Ken Barlow instead of Gary Barlow in the band Take That. The shows didn't just live in the UK, Ireland and Australia. The original versions have been shown all over the world. Italy's Un Posto al Sole, which translates as a place in the sun, I probably should have just read the name of the translation, which still runs today, was inspired by Neighbours and produced by Fremantle, the company behind Neighbours, and in 2017 a Turkish adaptation entitled Komşular was commissioned for Fox Turkey based on post-2013 Neighbours storylines and characters. Carl's up to his old tricks again, I see. While continuing to perform reasonably well in the UK, ratings in Australia declined. Neighbours was eventually moved from Network 10's main channel to its digital spin-off, 11, later 10 Peach. Essentially the Australian equivalent of an ITV2 or an E4, which just further emphasises the importance of the UK market to the show. In 2021, Channel 5 announced it would drop Neighbours as part of a shift towards short-run British drama. With little interest from the Australian broadcasters, the show was cancelled. It ended with a high-profile finale featuring returning stars, including, yes, that one. Despite speculation about a future return, it looked like the end. Cast members even embarked on farewell tours across the UK, during which something unexpected happened. In a surprise move, Amazon's Freevee announced it would revive Neighbours for 2 more years. The so-called Big Four cast members were told first before the wider cast. The show jumped forward 2 years in story to explain changes, introduced new characters and brought back familiar faces, including Guy Pearce, who despite a major international film career after appearing in the previous final episodes, continued to pop back for appearances filmed in the UK. The show also initially included Misha Barton, the star of the hit US show The OC, as part of its cast. Again, after the guaranteed production period ended, Amazon decided not to continue. This time the show bowed out more quietly. Still, it provided 2 more years of work for the cast and crew and 2 more years for fans. Home and Away continues. UK viewers might find this odd, as it's often been seen as the poor relation. But Channel 5 reportedly signed a deal when it initially poached the show, committing to the life of the series. Crucially, Home and Away has always performed better in Australia than Neighbours ever did, meaning Network 7 isn't overly reliant on UK funding for the show. As of 2026, the show is available in the UK via My5 and 5 Star. The Aussie soaps may have had their heyday in the 80s and 90s, and only one remains, but their cultural impact is undeniable. They launched global careers, shaped television history, and brought a bit of sunshine into British homes. Not bad for 2 communities over 10,000 miles away. Which is your favourite, Neighbours or Home and Away? Let us know in the comments. Please like if indeed you did, subscribe and press the bell to help the channel grow, and consider supporting the creation of new videos by becoming a channel member on YouTube.